Hey you guys, so what do you do if you're feeling really frustrated because you are doing all of the things, you're updating your CV, you're doing the networking, you're doing all of this career stuff that you're supposed to do, and maybe you even worked with coaches before to figure out your direction and all that, and yet you find yourself still not knowing what is your ideal job role, or if you do know your ideal job role, you're not getting it despite doing everything they tell you to do. So if you're new here, I'm Dahlia. I help people go from unfulfilled into positions that they love without giving up on income. And I've been in that situation before, okay, where I'm really working on a goal. I want it so badly. Commitment is not the issue. Sorry, there's just some sirens outside. But yeah, when commitment is not the issue, that's obviously a separate topic, right? If you're not feeling committed about your goals, but we won't talk about those people. We'll talk about if you're really committed, you're taking all the action, you're spending lots of time on this, and it's not happening for you. And I talked to someone recently who was telling me like, all the things, Dahlia, you talk about, hidden job market, networking, self-branding, like I'm doing all of that stuff. So I don't understand why it's not happening for me. And when someone has a solid strategy, so obviously it's another issue. If you don't even have a solid strategy, a solid action plan, you need to hire someone who has a plan that they can just give you and obviously tailor it to you and have an actual strategy, right? But let's say you have a plan or you're doing all the things and it's still not working for you, then it's time to get humble and take a step back and realize the reason that you haven't gotten the result you want is because you're not doing the actions yet in a way that they need to be done. So basically your skill set is not where it needs to be. You have not yet become who you need to become in order to get that result. And so, it's not something anyone wants to hear. We all want to feel like, okay, all I need to do is one quick, easy fix, and all of a sudden that will be fine. And we all want to think that with all the efforts we've made already, that should be good enough. But it's not, and it's a really competitive world out there. So it's really the people who are continuously getting humble, continuously going, you know what? I'm pretty great. I've done lots of great things and I've taken lots of good action. That's good, but I still have lots to improve. And I see this a lot, especially with things like networking and self-branding, where people often feel like, well, I've already hired a coach. I've already done my CV. I've already tried networking. But when we start working together and we really look at, okay, well, exactly what messages have you been sending out? Okay, so you got an interview. What exactly happened on that interview? What exactly did you say? And that is where, when we get into the details of it, we realize they're not where they need to be yet. Their interviews are not as strong as they should be. Their networking outreach doesn't have the right vibe. Like it's kind of turning people away, or making people pretend to help them, but they don't really want to help them, or all of that kind of thing. And so even though on paper they're doing all of the right things, and sometimes they're doing a pretty okay job at it, but it's still not at the level it needs to be to actually start getting that result. And once you get over that threshold where the way that you're doing all of that branding and that networking, as your skill level there increases and it gets better and better, and this is an iterative process, right? As that gets better and better, like when I work with clients, this is what we see. We start looking at their messages, they improve, but sometimes it's still not improved enough. And then the next one, we look at it again, iteration, until they're now getting those interviews, getting those job offers. And then that's where all of a sudden they get into that snowball effect, and they have, like Sarah the other day was telling me, hey, since we started working together, she got her first offer while we were in the program, but now that it's been a couple more months, now because she's continuing with the process and her skills are just improving more and more, people are recognizing her, and she's getting all these multiple job offers. She doesn't even have time for all of them, so she's able to negotiate for the salary that she wants, for the impact that she wants and the growth that she wants, and it's this amazing thing. But she had to get, because she was a very successful person when we started working together already. However, she wasn't where she wanted to be, and she got really humble about, okay, there's things here that I want to improve, that I want to focus on. And that is why she's in this incredible position that she's in right now. And she continues to get humble, and anyone who's successful, like me as well, I have plenty of things I'm working on. And so when I find myself again in the space where I'm taking a lot of action, but I'm not getting the result that I want, what I do is I hire a coach. Again, not what anyone wants to hear. Nobody wants to feel like everyone wants to just have something that they can do that's a quick fix that costs no money, costs no time, no effort, right? So isn't there some like CV tweak that I need that's just gonna magically get me that job? No, you know? And obviously when I sign up with a coach, it's not like the very next day they tell me to do something and all of a sudden, right, I get my result immediately. Usually there's this humbling process, let's say, where I realize I'm actually not as far along as I thought I was, and I have to go back to some basics and really, really upgrade my skills. But then longer term, and definitely much, much faster than what was happening when I was by myself, I start getting those results. And that's how I upgraded my salary. I almost doubled my salary last year in my career, not even with my coaching. That's a separate income, but I was able to upgrade my salary to about 180K last year from 100K. And that's because I was working with coaches and I was investing in myself. And I recognized that even though I was doing very well in my career, there's still another level out there, and that I wasn't getting there fast enough on my own. So it's really about getting humble, recognizing that if this was going to be easy, everyone would be doing it, right? Everyone has access to LinkedIn, to job boards, to all of those kind of career coaching exercises where it's like I talked to someone who hired a career coach for a number of months and spent thousands of dollars and did all these kinds of exercises. And by the end of it, she felt like, okay, I learned a lot about myself. I have a list of like 10 jobs I could do. And I said, well, why haven't you chosen one of those positions? And she goes, well, still none of them seem quite right. So the whole thing was, even though she learned a lot about herself, she hadn't really gotten any kind of concrete result. And so a lot of times it's not just about doing exercises and doing different things and taking that action. It's really about figuring out what is the one thing that you need to upgrade in yourself right now. Like, what is that? And these blocks are really individual, which is why a lot of times these kinds of programs and stuff you can find online. I was just talking to someone else right now. We were talking about, where she was telling me how these things are not tailored. So yeah, there's all this information out there, but none of them address specifically what is your upgrade that you need to do. And that's what I found when I work with coaches, that they look at you and they see what you're doing and they tell you specifically for you, this is what you need to adapt. This is what you need to tweak. And then it's through that iterative process that you actually get yourself into those new outcomes. But again, if it was going to be super easy, everyone would be doing it. So the best thing you can do is just commit to being the kind of person who is tenacious, who refuses to give up, but also refuses to say, oh, it should just be good enough. It should be happening, right? Like, forget about shoulds. Is it happening or is it not happening? And if it's not happening, then what are you going to do about it? What is the one thing that you can shift, that you can upgrade, that you can do better so that you can get yourself to your goal and just not accept not getting to your goal? Because at the end of the day, everyone has hopes and dreams. Everyone has big goals. Probably less than 1% of people actually get into a life where they're amazingly happy and fulfilled and earning a great income. Like, very few people actually get that, and that is because they are not 100% committed to their goal. It's like a nice to have, but ultimately they are ready to give up if it gets too tough, and they're not really willing to do anything it takes. They're like, I'm willing to update my CV, I'm willing to do the networking, I'm willing to do that stuff, but if I have to actually change something about myself or realize that I'm actually not quite as skilled at self-marketing as I thought I was, that's too much. I won't do that. So there you go. I hope that helped someone. And if you're in that situation, I know how frustrating it is. Like, I've been there before. All my clients have been there before. And recognize that if you want to be an incredibly successful person, like what we were talking about, then that is the process that you need to go through, because nobody becomes outrageously happy and successful without any kind of a challenge, without having to upgrade themselves, without having to really go like headfirst into the water. And nobody gets there with like easy shortcuts, with absolutely no discomfort and no skin in the game. No, like, that's not how life works. So recognize that it is part of the process, and all you need to do is decide. Like, it's a really simple decision. Are you the kind of person who is committed enough to your goal to do everything it takes to get there? Or are you the kind of person who is ready to pull out? All right, guys, hope that was helpful to someone. And obviously, if you need help with this, if you are struggling, like, don't struggle, reach out to me. I'll see if I can help you. I can't help everyone, but there's some people who really do need just like a little tweak here and there. And if that's the case, like, maybe we can just implement something immediately. The other day, someone reached out to me on Messenger, and within 5 minutes, we had gotten him some momentum, and basically he was able to take a decision that he'd spent a full year deliberating. So some of you guys are going to need more help than that. We won't be able to just solve it immediately, but either way, you're going to get yourself out of the struggle and into a much better place. So feel free to reach out. Nice to see you again, and I will see you on the next video.